name is Monique Carter and I'm 38 years old. 21 years ago, my parents decided I was nothing but shame to them. I was 18 and pregnant, and instead of helping me, they tossed me aside like I was disposable. Today, those same parents stood in the polished lobby of Lincoln General Hospital, demanding to meet the grandson they had never wanted. The grandson who is now the youngest chief of cardiovascular surgery in the state. They'd seen his face splashed across the news, celebrated as a medical prodigy. My mother clutched her Louis Vuitton tote like it was armor, while my father fussed with his Rolex Day-Date, both dressed to impress the son of the daughter they had erased. What they didn't know was that the will of the woman who saved me would decide their fate, not them. But let's go back to the beginning, to a rainy November night in 2003. I was standing in the living room of my parents' house in Atlanta, the room with imported marble floors and a chandelier that cost more than most families made in a year. In my shaking hand was a pregnancy test, glowing positive. "You're lying," my mother said first, her voice cold and sharp like glass breaking. No daughter of mine would embarrass me like this. But it wasn't just one test. The second was positive. The third too. My father didn't yell, he never did. Instead, he walked upstairs to my room with deliberate steps and returned with a suitcase they'd bought me for college visits. He set it down by the door like a judge handing out a sentence. "You've got 10 minutes, he said, sliding his Morehouse class ring around his finger. "Pack what you can carry. Leave the house keys on the table. Daddy, please. You are not our daughter anymore." He turned the family portrait on the mantel face down, the one where we wore matching outfits and forced smiles. Our daughter would not throw her future away over some boy. My mother barely looked at me, standing by the grandfather clock, filing her nails. "Don't call. Don't come back. We'll tell people you're studying overseas." And the boy who had promised forever, Tyrone Johnson, already accepted to Duke University, with wealthy parents and lawyers protecting his future. He blocked my number the moment I told him I was pregnant. 2 minutes. That's all I had to erase 18 years of being their daughter. I stuffed clothes in the bag, grabbed the necklace my grandmother left me, and the $315 I had stashed away in my jewelry box. When the lock clicked behind me, it was final. I spent that night on a park bench near Grant Park, shivering under a gazebo where Tyrone had once kissed me for the first time. 3 nights later, someone woke me with a gentle hand on my shoulder. Not a cop, not a stranger looking for trouble. A woman in her 70s, wrapped in a wool coat and radiating quiet concern. "Baby girl, you'll freeze to death out here," she said softly. That was the night I met Ms. Lorraine Davis, a widow who walked her aging beagle every morning before sunrise. She saw me curled on that bench with my suitcase for a pillow and something in her heart broke, or maybe healed. "I'm fine," I whispered, my teeth chattering. "No, you're not." She looked at my face, then at my belly. I was barely 2 months along, but she knew. When the tears finally broke, sobs shaking my body, she sat down right beside me on that cold bench and held me like I was hers. "Come on," she said finally. "I've got more than enough room at my house." Her car smelled like leather and lavender. The heated seats felt like heaven. She drove me to her house in the West End, a big old home with more rooms than one woman and one old dog could ever need. "I lost my daughter in a car accident," Lorraine said simply as she showed me inside. She was pregnant too. That was 6 years ago. Since then, I've been waiting for somebody who needed what I still had to give. The room she led me to had been waiting as if for me. A crib already built in the corner. A closet filled with maternity clothes. Tags still hanging. "This is yours now," she said. "No questions, no conditions. Everybody deserves a second chance." "Why?" I asked, barely able to believe her. She touched a photo on the dresser of a smiling young woman. "Because my daughter Angela would have wanted me to." That night, I slept in a bed for the first time in 3 days. Her beagle curled up at my feet like a guardian. Lorraine didn't just give me shelter, she gave me back my life. While my parents told their country club friends that I was studying abroad in Paris, I was learning how to breathe again in a nursery painted with stars. My son, Malik, arrived during a brutal ice storm in February 2004, crying strong and loud from the very first moment. Lorraine sat by my side through 18 grueling hours of labor, whispering strength into me when I thought I had none left. She was the one who cut the cord, the one who cradled him first after me. "He's brilliant," she declared, though he was only minutes old. "I can see it in his eyes." And she was right. Malik grew quickly, his mind always racing ahead. He walked before most kids, read by the age of 3, and tested into advanced programs before kindergarten. While I scraped my way through night classes for my GED, then community college courses, he devoured books like candy. Lorraine owned a small chain of businesses, 3 soul food restaurants across Atlanta. She started me as a hostess, then trained me on the register, the schedules, and eventually the finances. "You're not just working here," she told me. "You're learning how to run something that will outlast you." Malik soaked up everything too. At 7, he performed surgery on his stuffed bear using real sutures he'd learned from YouTube videos. By 10, he was reading my anatomy textbooks. At 16, Johns Hopkins accepted him for early admission. That same year, a man named Marcus Hill walked into Lorraine's flagship restaurant. He was an estate lawyer, tall with kind eyes, a serious manner, and jokes so bad they were good. Lorraine had hired him to update her will, something she insisted on doing every year since she took us in. Marcus made me laugh for the first time in years. Over coffee that turned into dinner, he told me, "Your son is remarkable." "His grandmother deserves the credit," I replied. "I wasn't talking about Lorraine," he said with a smile. Lorraine, always practical, had already planned for the future. She spoke often of the family you choose, being the only family that matters. Everything changed when the Atlanta Tribune splashed Malik's photo across the front page. 21-year-old surgeon becomes youngest chief of cardiac surgery in state history. There he was in surgical scrubs, standing proudly before the cardiac wing he had already helped reshape. The article used his full name, Dr. Malik Carter, MD, PhD. My maiden name. The name my parents thought they had buried forever. Within hours, the story went viral. Prodigy doctor saves 3 lives in one day. Gen Z surgeon reinvents heart surgery. The real-life Doogie Howser. That night, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I nearly ignored it, but then I heard the voice on the voicemail. "Monique, it's your mother." 2 decades of silence, broken by a voice I'd trained myself to live without. "We need to talk about our grandson." Our grandson. Not my son, our grandson. Like he was some possession they'd misplaced and suddenly remembered. The emails followed. Professional, distant, cold. "Dear Monique, we hope this message finds you well. Recent news has brought to our attention Malik's impressive accomplishments. As his grandparents, we feel it is time to reconnect. Sincerely, the Carters." Yes, signed from the corporate address of Carter & Sons Holdings, the company they'd protected by discarding me. Marcus found me crying in my office, not from sorrow but from rage. "They want him now that he's successful," I said bitterly. 21 years of silence, and suddenly they want to claim him. "What do you want to do?" Marcus asked. "Make them disappear again. Then we'll make them disappear," he said, pulling me close. "But first, let's check something in Lorraine's papers." She mentioned she had provisions for exactly this kind of situation. That night, while Malik worked a 16-hour hospital shift saving lives, he had no idea that his so-called grandparents were circling like vultures, trying to claim a legacy that was never theirs. My parents started with small moves. A dinner reservation under a fake name, at Lorraine's old restaurant, now mine, sitting quietly in my section, pretending they didn't know me. But I knew. I recognized my mother's diamond ring before I even saw her face. She had aged badly. Her attempts to fight time with Botox only made the bitterness on her face more obvious. "Good evening," I said, steady as I could. "Welcome to Carter's." "Monique," my father said flatly, like a judge passing sentence. We need to discuss Malik. You need to leave. They didn't. Instead, they escalated. Packages began showing up at the hospital. A gold watch worth thousands, a set of antique medical journals, a custom fountain pen, each signed, "From your loving grandparents." Malik brought them home, confused. "Mom, somebody keeps sending me expensive gifts. Should I be worried?" "Yes," I told him. "Send them back. Every last one." Marcus intercepted the next move, a formal petition for grandparent visitation rights. He actually laughed as he read it aloud. "They're citing established family bonds," he said, shaking his head. "Bonds they severed when they signed this." He slid a photocopy across my desk, the legal document my parents had signed all those years ago, cutting me off. "They didn't just kick you out," Marcus said. "They legally disowned you and any children you might have." But they weren't done. They hired a private investigator to track Malik's routines. They called members of the hospital board, introducing themselves as Dr. Carter's grandparents, trying to get invitations to fundraisers. The final straw came when my mother cornered Malik outside a coffee shop near the hospital. "You look just like your grandfather," she said, blocking his way. Malik frowned. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm your grandmother, sweetheart. Your mother has kept us apart." He pulled out his phone and called me immediately. "Mom, some woman claiming to be my grandmother just tried to ambush me. Should I call security?" "Yes," I said firmly. "Always." But then the past came clawing at me from another direction. At 2 a.m., my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in decades. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Monique, it's me. Please don't hang up." Tyrone Johnson. 21 years, and he still thought it's me meant something. "What do you want, Tyrone?" "I saw the news about Malik. He's incredible. Our son. The same child he abandoned when he was just a bump in my belly." "He doesn't even know you exist," I said coldly. "Let's keep it that way." "That's not fair. I was 18, Monique. My parents threatened to." "To what?" "Disown you. Throw you out. Make you sleep on a park bench while you were pregnant. Because that's what happened to me." He went silent. "I'm divorced now," he said finally. "My business failed. I lost everything. I just want to know him. He's my blood." "Blood?" I almost laughed. "You blocked my number when I needed you most." And then he admitted it. "My parents, your parents, they reached out to me. They think if I'm involved, you'll be more willing to reconcile. They're even offering to help me financially if I convince you." Hung up. My hands were shaking as I dialed Marcus. "They're working together," I told him. "My parents and Tyrone. They're actually coordinating this." "Good," Marcus said, which startled me. "Good. Because conspiracy leaves evidence. And Lorraine told me once. Always keep your receipts. Forward me everything, calls, emails, messages. If they want a fight, we'll give them one." The next morning, Tyrone sent a long email about his so-called father's rights. He copied my parents at the bottom. Hidden in his email signature was the line that confirmed everything. Consultant Carter and Sons Holdings, Family Relations. They had actually hired him. My parents had paid the man who abandoned me to manipulate me into letting them near Malik. Lorraine had been right all along. Family isn't blood, it's choice. And some choices can't be undone. If you've ever had to push back against relatives who only show up once you're successful, you'll understand what came next. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Malik was deep into an 8-hour pediatric heart surgery when my parents marched into Lincoln General's VIP lobby. "We're here to see our grandson, Dr. Carter," my mother announced loud enough for the crowd to hear. "We are his grandparents, the Carters of Carter and Sons Holdings." The receptionist didn't even look up. She called security. "This is ridiculous," my father thundered. "We've donated millions to this hospital. Our grandson is the chief of surgery. We demand to see him." Visitors stopped to stare. Phones appeared, recording. My mother pulled out a silk handkerchief, dabbing at dry eyes. 21 years we've been kept from him, she wailed. We only want to meet our grandson. Security arrived just as Marcus and I walked in. Dr. Carter is in surgery, the head guard said calmly. Then we'll wait, my father barked, planting himself on the leather seating as if he owned the place. The head of security looked at me. Ms. Carter, how do you want us to handle this? My mother froze mid-tear. Ms. Carter, you remarried. You gave our grandson another man's name. He never had your name, I said quietly. You made sure of that when you signed him away. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My father's face turned red. How dare you? The doors swung open. Malik emerged in scrubs, the infant he had just saved being wheeled past. He took one look at the scene, security, strangers and his mother standing frozen, and asked me calmly, Are these the people who've been stalking me? Yes, I answered. Then I want them removed. He didn't spare them a glance. But my parents weren't finished. From the hospital parking lot they called the news. Within an hour, reporters swarmed the entrance. My mother, always the actress, changed outfits and stood before the cameras with my father at her side. 21 years ago, there was a misunderstanding, she told the reporter, voice breaking just enough for sympathy. We reacted poorly to our daughter's teenage pregnancy. But we've been trying to reconnect. We've been denied access to our only grandchild. The reporter fed them the line they wanted. Dr. Carter is a medical pioneer. You must be proud. Incredibly proud, my father declared, though he had never seen his grandson hold a scalpel or stay awake for 36 hours straight to save a life. The Carter family has always valued excellence, he added. It's in his blood. His blood. The same blood they rejected when it was growing inside me. When asked what they would say to me now, my mother looked straight into the camera. Monique, sweetheart, we forgive you. We just want our family back together. Forgive me. As though I were the one who abandoned them. By 6 p.m. the segment aired. By 7 it had already been shared tens of thousands of times. Comments poured in online. Family is everything. Let them see their grandson. Why is she being so cruel? A grudge after 2 decades. Marcus shut his laptop with a grim smile. They just made a critical mistake. Going public. Yes. No, he said. Saying they forgive you. That's an admission of guilt. And we have the signed documents that show exactly what they did. The following day, the hospital's chief administrator called me in for a meeting. This is becoming complicated, he admitted, fiddling with his Mont Blanc pen. The Carters have contributed over $12 million to this hospital. The board is concerned about optics. Perhaps one supervised meeting would resolve everything. Would you meet with people who discarded you like garbage? Yes. He looked uncomfortable. It's not my decision to make. But Dr. Carter's position could be jeopardized. You're threatening my son's job. Not threatening, he hedged. Considering all angles. At the restaurant, even regular customers started offering their opinions. Family is complicated, one woman told me as I refilled her glass. But forgiveness is divine, don't you think? Even some of my staff whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. 21 years is a long time to hold on to anger. As if being disowned while pregnant was equal to forgetting someone's birthday. Malik came home late that night, exhaustion written in the circles under his eyes. Mom, 3 of my surgeries were delayed today. Reporters keep trying to sneak into the OR wing. I'm sorry, baby. I'll fix this. It's not your fault, he sighed. But maybe if we just met with them once. I could tell them to leave us alone. No, I said firmly. They signed away their rights to you before you were even born. He was quiet for a moment. Then, can I see those papers? Marcus had been waiting for this. He pulled out a folder he had been carrying for weeks. This is what they signed, he said. The day they threw your mother out. Malik read aloud. His surgeon's hands steady despite the weight of the words. We, Leonard and Denise Carter, Hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Monique Carter and any children born or unborn. He looked up at me, his knuckles white. They signed this while you were pregnant with me? Yes. And this line, we acknowledge no financial, emotional, or legal obligations. They actually wrote that. They did. He set the paper down with the same care he gave a scalpel. Tell me everything, Mom. From the beginning. And so I did. I told Malik everything. The 10 minutes, the suitcase, the park bench, Tyrone disappearing. He sat in silence, absorbing the truth I had shielded him from for over 20 years. So Grandma Lorraine was the only real grandmother I ever had, he said finally. Yes, I whispered. And she left something for us in her will. That's why Marcus keeps checking those documents. Marcus nodded. Lorraine left everything. Her restaurants, properties, investments, over $16 million in total. But she wrote specific conditions. Any relative who abandoned Monique or Malik is permanently barred from inheritance. Malik leaned back and actually laughed. So they're fighting this hard for money they can't even touch? They don't know that yet, Marcus said. But they're about to. The showdown came at the Lincoln Memorial Gala, the hospital's most prestigious annual event. 500 guests. Media everywhere. Malik was the keynote speaker. We reserved table 1 right at the front, for my parents and Tyrone. Impossible to miss. Impossible to leave quietly. I sent the invitations myself. Dear Mother and Father, please join us at the gala to discuss the Lorraine Davis estate. Formal documents will be provided. Dear Tyrone, your presence is requested regarding Malik's patrimony and parental status. Legal clarification will be given. They RSVP'd within minutes. Their egos wouldn't let them stay away. The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and orchids on every table. My parents arrived like royalty, my mother in a vintage Chanel suit, my father checking his diamond watch. Tyrone wore a tuxedo too big for him, shifting nervously at their side. When Malik took the stage, he didn't wear a tux. He wore scrubs, the uniform of someone who had earned his place by saving lives. I want to talk about family, he began. Not the family you're born into, but the family that chooses you when you need them most. My parents smiled, thinking he meant them. 21 years ago, a young woman was thrown out of her home for being pregnant. She slept in parks. She starved. But then she met Lorraine Davis, who took her in, gave her shelter, dignity, and a future. Lorraine became my grandmother in every way that mattered. Everything I am, I owe to her, and to my mother, who sacrificed everything to raise me. The screen behind him lit up with Lorraine's smiling face, 20 feet tall. My grandmother believed family is not blood, it's presence. Tonight, I honor her by launching the Lorraine Davis Foundation for Young Mothers. $5 million in initial funding, scholarships, housing, childcare, and hope for every girl abandoned like my mother once was. Gasps filled the ballroom. My parents' smiles faltered. Then Lorraine's pre-recorded message appeared on screen. Her voice filled the hall. If you're seeing this, then the Carters have crawled out from the shadows. Leonard, Denise, I know exactly what you did. You gave your daughter 10 minutes to pack. You turned her portrait face down. You disowned her and her unborn child. You are nothing to Malik. You will never touch this family again. Everything I built belongs to Monique and Malik. You can't buy your way back. The room fell silent. My mother sprang to her feet. We're his grandparents, she shouted. We made one mistake 20 years ago. One mistake. I stood, my voice strong. You gave me 10 minutes to erase my life. You signed documents erasing Malik before he was even born. The crowd erupted in whispers. Phones came out recording everything. Marcus stepped onto the stage with a folder. Here is the signed notarized document from 2003. Leonard and Denise Carter, relinquishing all rights in perpetuity to Monique Carter and her children. Forever. Legally binding. Irrevocable. The projector displayed their signatures across the screen, larger than life. "This isn't fair," my father barked. "No," Marcus said. "It's legal. And it's final." Tyrone tried to slip toward the exit, but security blocked him. "Mr. Johnson," Marcus said smoothly, "don't go just yet. The board of Carter and Sons may want to know why you were hired to manipulate their daughter for a 10% cut of her inheritance." The emails appeared on screen. "Olivia always was emotional. Push the right buttons. $500,000 upfront for my involvement." The crowd booed. Malik stepped forward, his voice calm but cutting. "Tyrone, I've known who you were since I was 15. I found your photos, your business ventures, your other children. And I felt nothing. 'Cause you were never my father. Marcus Hill was. And he always will be." The room exploded with applause. Security escorted my parents and Tyrone out, their faces captured by dozens of cameras. Before they reached the door, Lorraine's voice came back one last time on screen. "You gave your daughter 10 minutes. I give you 10 minutes to leave this family forever." The clock on the wall ticked. My parents shuffled out, disgraced, under the weight of their own signatures. The next day, the headlines told the story. "Disgraced business family exposed at gala." "Prodigy surgeon denounces estranged grandparents on stage." Carter and Sons stock plummeted. My father was forced out as CEO. Tyrone faced fraud charges and bankruptcy court. But none of that mattered to me. What mattered was Malik standing on that stage, declaring that family isn't about blood. It's about love that shows up and never leaves. Months later, at our weekly dinner, Malik carved the roast with the same precision he used in surgery. "Saved 3 lives this week," he said casually, as if he were talking about the weather. Marcus poured wine. "Show off." "The youngest was 4 months old," Malik continued. "Her mom was 17. Reminded me of someone. I told her about the foundation. She cried. Said she'd been sleeping in her car. Not anymore, she moves into the center tomorrow. That was our family. No DNA test required. Just presence, choice and love." Lorraine's portrait hung above us, orchids blooming beneath it. I looked at Marcus and pulled out a ring. "You've been my partner in every way that matters. Will you marry me?" He smiled through tears. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." We toasted with Lorraine's crystal glasses, the ones she had saved for celebrations. And somewhere, in a cramped guest house far away, 2 people I once called parents were learning a truth too late. Some choices can never be undone. But better choices, those can be made every single day.